Hey, what's up everybody? Machine Head here.
Today I'll
Today,
be working
our
on a
project is working
2006
on a 2006
Honda
Honda Pilot.
Pilot.
It is a two-wheel drive and not a all-wheel drive,
This is
and we are
a two-wheel
replacing the
drive.
oil pressure valve assembly. So let's get started. First thing first, open the hood. Next step is to take the engine cover off. As you can see, there's some clips missing, so just pry whatever that's there and take the cover off. Next, we're going to be taking the intake hose off. It's pretty common sense. There's going to be some ring clamps. Usually they're 8 millimeters to release. There's some clips. Release those. And then you're going to... There's 4 bolts that are connected to the oil filter box. Just release them. I think they're at 8 millimeter. Once you release that, then just pull away from the throttle body. What I'm doing now is examining what is in my way. So I'm unplugging a few of the connection that's to the oil pressure valve assembly, because there are a few connection to there. There's a solenoid and then there's a sensor. There's some hoses that are in our way, so we need to get a needle nose pliers and then clamp those clips, pull them away, and then pry the hose out. And these are just air valve um, hoses, so nothing's gonna leak out of them. There's no oil or whatnot, so just release and just pull to the side, so it won't be in your way. So there's a little canister right there in the way, and what's holding it is two 10 millimeter nuts, and it's held onto a bracket. So once you get that loose, you can see that little gold bracket. Get that loose, just pull it to the side. There's a lot of oil buildup. It's very common on all these Hondas that these oil pressure valve assemblies, they're always leaking after a certain amount of miles because of the O-rings. They wear out in time. It needs to be replaced. O-rings don't ever last forever. They need to be replaced. So now there's gonna be 3 bolts that are holding the oil pressure valve assembly to the cylinder head. Just release them. It's a very tight spot, but it's workable. Just a note on this part. You are able to buy just the O-rings replacement from the inner side and the back side. There's 2 of them that goes to it, but you are not able to buy and just replace the solenoid itself or the sensor. If there is a fault to the solenoid or the sensor, you're gonna need to buy the whole assembly to get the sensor or the solenoid. Why do they do this? I have no idea. Once you purchase the whole assembly, it comes all together, even with the O-rings. And you can purchase the assembly at any auto parts store or your dealer. And it's not a cheap part. Now, if the solenoid is not faulty or the sensor is not faulty, then you can just replace the O-ring. Once you loosen up the bolts, because it's been on the motor for quite a while, there's 2 pins that actually, it's called guide pins, that will be tight. So it's kind of like you have to tap it or pry it for it to pop off. It will feel like it's still tight on there, but it's just because it's been on there for a while, and you just gotta tap it to break it loose. See, at this point, it just feels like it's still connected. I'm like figuring out, is there another bolt or something? I know there isn't, but because of the guide pins, it's still snug and tight. And there you have it. Pops loose. And there's all that oil buildup. And there's that O-ring. So that O-ring dries up in time, and then it starts cracking, and then whatnot. Here we are at the work table, and so I'm about to show you how to disassemble this oil pressure valve assembly. So first we're taking the first O-ring off, and this O-ring you can purchase just to replace this part, and I'm going to show you that this part is cracked, and that's why it's leaking from that area. And it's very brittle, it's dry, and and then there's a straighter valve, and it builds up oil, and oil cannot flow through that filter, so it does need to be replaced. There's that little filter area build up. Gonna clean it a little bit with some brake cleaner. So next I'm taking the solenoid off. Basically it's just held by one 10mm bolt. Give you a closer view here. There's the sensor. It's just screwed on. Has three-prong connection, 3-pin, 3-prong, whatever you want to call it. Solenoid that's held by a 10mm bolt. Unscrew that. Pull the solenoid out. And again, note that you cannot purchase that solenoid or that sensor on its own. You have to get those parts, you have to purchase the whole assembly. And it's not cheap. There's different years and models where they have almost a similar part, but it's not made for this make and model. Now, this assembly is two parts, and I'm disassembling it from taking the two 10mm screws out there, and then there's a third one, a third short one. The other two was longer. And then you just pry that apart. If you can't do it with your hand, you grab a flathead or whatnot, and just kind of pry it a little bit. And you have two guide pins that hold them together. And there's the other O-ring. You're going to have two little guide pins that goes in place. There's one right there, and then the second one here. Make sure you don't lose those. And there's the other O-ring. When you purchase the O-ring, some auto parts will have both O-ring as a pair, and some will only sell each one individually. And some auto parts won't have it at all. And again, when you purchase the whole assembly, it will come with those. First, we're going to spray it down and clean it up. Spit and shine. When cleaning a part like this, there's those little small areas where, you barely can get fluid through there. You really want to clean them out just to make sure that it's not clogged up or whatnot. It's a good idea to deep clean these really well, because once you put the assembly back together and then you slap it back onto the motor, you want to make sure that if there is a future leak, that you can detect it easily with a clean part. Because if you have a lot of buildup or oil or a dirty part and you want to track where the leak is coming from, it's difficult. We don't know if that oil buildup is old or new, so it's always a good idea to clean up your parts before applying them. What I'm using right now is a wire brush. Not a very heavy wire brush, but enough where I can brush the buildup grease and oil. Here I am cleaning up the tight valve area, making sure nothing's clogged up, everything's clean. That way, when put back together and oil flows through it, I won't have the issue of oil not being able to travel. So here we are, a close view of all the components that's separated. The nuts and bolts, screws, solenoid, sensor, assembly. This is everything that was taken apart, cleaned. It's a very small assembly, but there's so much to it, and it does a lot. There's your guide pin. And here I am showing you how that connects together, just like that, to make one piece. So now, here we are back to the motor. Part number TS1145. This is the whole assembly. Because we have a engine code, and I don't remember what engine code it was, but it shows that the sensor and the solenoid are faulty. And as I mentioned, you cannot purchase the solenoid or the sensor on its own. So you have to purchase the whole assembly. And you can purchase the assembly from either your closest auto parts store, if they carry it, or your dealer. Either way, it's an expensive part. And there it shows that it has the new O-ring. There's the sensor, and there's the solenoid. TS1145, the new part. Just wanted to take it to the work table and show you the comparison from the new one, because you always want to compare the parts, make sure everything looks good to the old one. So from side view, front view, back view, everything matches correctly, everything looks good. And there you have it.